Benefits for January 1. So we tell them all.
Just so everybody knows, the microphones that are on your table, you press this button, hold it. Press this,
That was off.
Yes. I'm sorry, I am not going to yell out. Not today.
I call to order the September 10th meeting of the North Allegheny School District. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we'll move on to our calendar review. We had an executive session this evening to discuss some personnel matters. This evening we will have our annual survey data report and a presentation on renovations update. On September 24th, we will have our regular voting meeting. And now I will turn it over to Dr. Howland for this evening's reports.
Now it's on.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Thank you, Mrs. Warner. Well, as part of our strategic plan, comprehensive strategic plan, our key performance indicators that we use to help determine whether we are being successful in the goals that we have, one of the key components in that is that we survey our parents and we survey our students. And what we have committed to the community is that we're going to be extremely transparent with our results, whether they're good, whether they're bad. We're going to share the things that we need to work on, and we're going to celebrate our successes. And so part of that process is making sure that we communicate not only to the public, but we also want to communicate with the board and give them an opportunity to take a look at how we're doing within our district. And so tonight, Dr. Dow and Mr. Duramo are going to present the findings from the parent and student survey. I will add that if you go onto our website and at the end of the presentation tonight, you'll see a QR code where you can see every question that was asked and the results from those questions. Tonight, you're just going to get more of a summary of some of the highlights and maybe some lowlights in the survey results, but you can definitely go back and see every single question that has been asked. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dow, who's going to start off with the elementary.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? All right. I have my computer up here because I have old eyes, even though that's very large. So when we designed our survey for our parents and students, we obviously focused around our 5 goals of academic excellence, continuous learning, empowering students, facilities for the future, and safety and wellness. These are the 5 areas that we are focusing on through our balanced scorecard. The survey was sent out to students in grades 5, 8, 10, and 12. Those were the transition years. It was given in May of 2025. Parents were provided a link of that survey, and if they wanted to opt out their students, they were able to do that. We had 2,459 student responses. Parents were emailed the survey in May of 2025, and we had 1,930 parent responses. Our parent responses were not quite where we would like them to be. This is something that we are going to really effort towards getting more parents to complete the survey. And parents, if they have multiple children, are given a survey link for each child. So if you have 4 children in the district, you were given 4 surveys to complete. We know it's a lot to ask, but it's really important that we're getting accurate data for each of the buildings in which their children are in. All right, so I get to report on the elementary, and I'm really pleased. I'm going to start with our comparison of our 4 areas of improvement for last year. The 4 areas that we talked about that we did not do as well as we would have liked to in the 23-24 school year were, I'm satisfied with food service. If you look in 23-24, that was our lowest area, which was at 70.46%. In 24-25, we went up 5.91%. To 76.37. So very pleased with almost a 6% growth. Our next area that we focused on was our ability to manage school-related stressors. Our balanced scorecard really looks not only at our achievement and our growth scores, but we're looking at that whole child approach. We want to make sure that our students are supported in every area. So in this area, we were at 70.35 for the 23-24 school year. And again, we went up significantly in this area and ended up being at 87.14 with a growth of 12.79. One of the things I will tell you moving forward is that as a district, we have decided to not include non-responses. So some of these questions, if parents started the survey and didn't finish, they would be considered non-responders. We included them in the total. We're no longer going to do that because it's not an accurate reflection then of that number. So I think some of the gain in this area may be a little bit of that non-responder reflection. Our third area was the curricula is rigorous and challenging. And again, here we went up 5.73%. And finally, homework assignments are meaningful and they help me learn. And we went up 4.72%. And this was important. Our student survey went up a lot here, which I was very pleased with. So for this year, we want to look at our strengths. I'm really, really proud of these strengths with the elementary buildings because this is talking about our staff a lot and what they are doing for our students, which is so important. So our highest area, now when you look at the survey, you will see our highest areas actually were in safety. Our kids feel safe and secure coming to school. They feel safe on our transportation. But we didn't want to focus just on safety. We felt like we were kind of bragging when our safety is so high. We will continue to monitor that. We want good scores in safety, but we chose some areas to look at that were not just safety. The best area here was my child's principal cares and treats students with respect at my school. That just, I see it every day. I see what our principals do. They go above and beyond for our students to make sure that they feel a part of the building and that they are comfortable going to the principal, talking to them and doing things. So our combined score in that area was 97%. That's fantastic. Next, we had, I'm satisfied with the quality of teaching my child receives or that I receive. We were at 96% there of a combined rate. And our last area, again, this goes right along with the principals, teachers and staff care and treat students with respect at my child's or my school. And we were at 96% there. I mean, that is really saying the quality of our staff and from principals to teachers to everyone. So they really are making a difference. This is a slide I don't like to go to as much. Our areas for improvement. What's really interesting is the 3 lower areas in elementary were the same areas from the year before. However, if you look at our comparison, we went up in these areas, we just didn't go up enough. So these will be continued areas that we will effort to continue to grow in these areas, and they are food service, homework assignments, and our curricula is rigorous and challenging. So we still have work to do here. Pleased to, be able to show that we did have growth, but we have continued growth to happen. Mr. Duramo.
Thank you, Dr. Dow.
Let me take this.
For the yearly comparison for the middle school age group, I will say that homework assignments are meaningful and help me learn. Was a moderate increase. It was not quite 1%, but there was a sign of improvement I think the focal area that we are looking at continuing to evaluate at both the middle school and quite honestly a K-12 lens is quality over quantity in terms of the amount of homework that we are asking students to complete outside of the school day, but also the focus on enrichment and reinforcement. So that has been a focal point, I know, in our grade level meetings, and the teachers are continuing to look at. Aware of mental health supports offered at my school. You could see a 3% plus some change increase from 23-24 to 24-25. Students treating other students with respect at my school. This is a challenge that's shared across all schools and quite honestly, society in general. I always say it's difficult to legislate adolescence, but at a middle school, that's a focal area for us all to strive to. I want to congratulate and commend the school district as a whole as we're continuing to enhance our practices with the help of a focus on our PBIS programs, positive behavior intervention and support. Each of our elementary schools meeting tier 1 with fidelity. Our middle schools, I know Marshall Middle School specifically is right at the tipping point of that fidelity component, or actually met the fidelity component, but want to dig a little bit deeper, and especially the work that was done at NAI under Dr. Hibner's leadership, reaching tier 1 with fidelity and now moving into tier 2. So great work and congratulations to the teachers and staff that have led that committee and continue to focus on that. And we'll talk more about that at the high school level as well. Satisfied with food service, maintained somewhat of a consistent rating at 76% at the middle level. Strengths from the 25 survey, in line with the elementary children's principal caring and treating students with respect at my school. A combined score of 95.23%, somewhat consistent ratings from both the parent and student populations. Classes having learning activities that teach me to work independently, solve problems, and complete projects. Another strong score, almost 91% from the parents and nearly 95% evaluation from our student voice. And also, obviously one that we can all share and take pride with, recommending the North Allegheny School District to someone moving into Western Pennsylvania. 92 and 92.65 with a combined score of 92.38. So worthy of recognition and to continue to keep that focus moving forward. As well as the safety component, having our school police officers and the leadership by the school district, obviously safety being one of our main goals of our strategic comprehensive plan. I'm not quite certain we can even surpass the scores that we have received. So the continued dedication of the school district to maintain the strategies and action plans that we have in place is appreciated. Areas for improvement at the middle school, a continuation similar to the elementary with similar themes from the 23-24 homework assignments, being meaningful and helping me learn. The parents have a little bit higher disposition towards homework than the students. You can see the student score 54.58, combining at 67. Students treating other students with respect and aware of mental health supports offered at my school. So a combined score of 70.39%. A lot of work is being done in conjunction with our student services department to continue to increase the awareness of the supports available for students. And special thanks to our school counseling counselors at each building and the department in general. The yearly comparison from the high school, you could see an increase number across the board at 3%, 7.55, 7.33, and plus 3.54. So that's a shared increase respectively. Homework assignments are meaningful and help me learn. Though it was a focal point for improvement, you could see that there is improvement between 23-24 and 24-25. Students treating other students with respect, 75% for 24-25. Mental health support, significant increase. And then the school monitoring my performance in a proactive manner, both for enrichment and remediation. We have our PPT teams in place and just a continual focus of universal screeners and whatnot. The adoption of Canvas and those other software tools and resources that we have, which we can remain in a proactive manner to do that. Strengths at the high school level, receiving appropriate assistance with the laptop, 97%. Satisfied with the number of AP courses. Special thanks to Steve Smith, our coordinator, supervisor of curriculum and instruction, and his work with the department chairs, and obviously the achievement levels of our students on an annual consistent basis with our advanced placement success. My child's principal cares and treats students with respect at my school, 94%. Finally, area for improvement at the high school level, once again, the continuation theme of homework assignments and a continuation of a little difference of opinion between parents and students at that level. Nonetheless, combining at a 70% rating, a focal area that we will continue to evaluate and look to improve. The school monitoring my child's performance in a proactive manner, and students treating other students with respect at 75.16. Sorry. The conclusion, the parent-student surveys for this school year, the current school year, will be once again distributed in April of 2026. As referenced earlier by Dr. Highland, the QR code is available to see a more in-depth analysis of all the questions that are solicited to our parents and student population for your review. We appreciate and acknowledge the participation increasing every year. We value the voice of both the entire community, but especially our students and our parents. So I would encourage you to share this with your friends and neighbors and colleagues so that we can continue to capture the most global perspective that we can to help our district continue to improve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dowell and Mr. Duramo. Do any board members have any questions or comments on this presentation? Dr. Gibbs.
First, I appreciate summarizing the data. That's a lot of work, I know. And it's very pleasing to see that there are areas that are scored so highly. I mean, it's hard to score high with that number of people to score at that level on anything. So it's pleasing to see. I don't quite understand the rationale in averaging the parent and student scores. I mean, I just maybe someone could explain. It's not a big deal, but I don't quite understand it. They have different perspectives, and they are different. There are different numbers of parents than there are students. So just doing an arithmetic average of those two scores, I don't quite understand. But nevertheless, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Mr. McClure.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. The one common thing, and one thing I don't think we ever will in our lifetime see change is I'm satisfied with the food service. Seriously, we got 75% and 3/4 of the kids happy with it. So that's pretty darn good. The one thing that I did want to ask about, or maybe see if we can learn more about, is that both the middle school and the high schools have need of improvement in students treating other students with respect. Something we've talked about for many years and something I've advocated for many years, and I know Dr. Highland that you had dealt with at your former district, is a program that is specific to that. And I've been advocating for the Rachel's Challenge program for many years, and would love to see either that or something very similar rolled out that I think specifically targets that point that's brought up on both the middle school, getting the kids treating each other a little more respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Anyone else? Mrs. Blackburn.
I will just double down on what Mr. McClure just said. We've talked about this for quite a few years. I know we both brought it up to Dr. Freeze, and it was something that I know Dr. Highland did at his former school district. And knowing that the data came back, that it was an area of improvement for how people treat others. And with respect, this would be a wonderful thing for us to do as quickly as possible. Rachel's Challenge, I like it. Thank you.
It's funny, Mr. McClure, you're commenting about the food service. I was actually going to say My 5th grade son actually came home this a couple of days ago and was like, "Oh, the food's a lot better this year." So he's one of the statistics, but there was some anecdotal evidence that the food was appreciated at the elementary school. And then the second part about the homework assignments, and again, this is I'm fresh. I was coming to this board meeting. I was helping my son do 5th grade math, long division, and I've said this before during the math curriculum review. I have no idea what we're teaching these kids with math. It makes 0 sense how we're teaching these kids math. And he's trying to do long division. And what would be helpful is if there is some type of study guide or something that could be sent home with multiple examples of how the new way to learn math is, so parents can try to help. Because counting dots and circles is not math. That's some cheat sheet that we're trying to teach our kids. They're not teaching them anything. So if that's how they're going to get graded, which I think is asinine, but if that's how they get graded, there's got to be some way to help the parents understand what we're teaching these kids, because it's not math.
Anyone else? I will say, Mr. Weniger, I love the way we're teaching the math, but completely agree with you on needing to make sure our parents understand how it works, because it's not useful if we're trying to help our students and we're struggling with it. But I will go on record saying I do like our new math curriculum and the way we're teaching the process of doing it and not just going through the rote steps of long division. And I also want to echo Mr. McClure and Mrs. Blackburn's comments. I'm not as familiar with Rachel's challenge as you, but I would be I'm glad we're highlighting where we need to improve, and I'm very disappointed to see that treating students with respect is one of the ones in the bottom. So I also would like to advocate for whatever we can do to work on that number. But I would like to point out how at the high school level, there was a huge improvement on that one. And so kudos to our high school principals, including Dr. Hibner, who's here this evening, and kudos to all our principals because of principals caring about their students was in the top 3 areas at all 3 levels. So thank you all, those of you who are here and not. I was really happy to see that. And I will put some of you guys on the spot, and if you don't have an answer for this, no problem. But I'm wondering, is there anything that didn't, I like how, like for transparency purposes, was doing the top 3, the bottom 3. Is there anything that didn't make these slides that jumped out at you that was especially interesting or an area of concern or something you're especially excited about?
I would say, I think, Dr. Highland and all of us have done such a strong focus on safety. I mean, the numbers that we're getting in that area of 98% and 97%, I mean, that's fantastic. As someone said, when you're looking at 4,000 people almost responding, I think that really says a lot of what we've done. So it's really nice to see that. But I think it's also nice, even the ones that were reported, to see that the hard work that the principals and staff are doing, that the students recognize that. I think that's really important.
Excellent, thank you. And seeing no further comments, I will turn it over to Dr. Highland to introduce our next report.
Can I add?
Oh, absolutely.
Can I add one thing about the survey, which I think is absolutely incredible? When our parents and our students come back and say, when we ask them, would you recommend your district to someone moving to Western Pennsylvania? And when we have between 94 and 96% of both our parents and our students, roughly, that is a remarkable percentage. And I would hazard a bet that there are very few school districts that could get that type of number. They would do anything to have that number. So one of the things we do is we focus on the things that we have to improve. And there is a lot that we have to improve. There's no question about it. But what I don't want to miss is the tremendous confidence, I would say, that our parents have in this district, that they would recommend it to somebody else. Think about it. In today's society, if we can get 50% of people to agree on anything, I think we're doing pretty well. When we have 96% of our parents say they agree or strongly agree that this district is doing, they're satisfied, let's take that. That's a win. We can get it better. We can get 100%. But boy, that's pretty good. So I want to make sure that we focus on that. And the other thing is that one of the things that we wanted to do is put up where we did not do well. And we are focusing on continuous improvement in this district. Not necessarily we may not hit the mark, but we're trying to show that we're moving towards getting better every single day. And so that continuous improvement, the notion that we may not have arrived, but we're on the track to get there, I think is an important concept that we should all celebrate as well. So I just wanted to add that, Mrs. Warner.
Thank you. I'm glad that you chimed in on those points. But now I believe we can move on to our next report.
I probably shouldn't have turned off my mic. So we are excited tonight. There's been an awful lot of hard work that's been put into this presentation tonight. We referenced earlier our strategic plan. If we could go to the second slide, please, it'd be fantastic. A little over a year ago, the board, we all worked together with the administrative team and took input from our constituents, and we came up with 5 goals to form the basis of our comprehensive strategic plan. And one of those goals was facilities for the future. And I just want to reiterate with folks, the goal is actually just not facilities for the future, but dig a little bit deeper. It's to invest in the maintenance and development of facilities and grounds that create future-ready learning spaces, reflecting our community pride and dedication to excellence in academics, arts, athletics, and activities. And I think over the years we have done that. But some of our facilities are getting to the point where they're facilities for the past and not facilities for the future. And so I think as a district, we have done this before where we felt it was important to invest in our facilities. And I think that time is coming due again, where we're going to have to invest in our facilities. And so tonight is a byproduct of the work that began multiple years ago. And we have worked to this point. If you recall, we presented to the board in January, and we kind of gave the board an update of where we are. And we said we'd come back in the fall with some finer details. And we're ready to report some finer details. I want to preface this by saying that we are still at the schematic concept stage of this process. So we're at the 30,000 foot view, but we're ready to start looking a little bit closer to the ground. And that's what tonight is about, is hearing from, as we get closer, what is it that we need to potentially do for our district, and how can we meet that strategic goal of having facilities for the future for our students. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the team to begin the presentation, and I think Mr. Jabul is going to be the first one out of the gates.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hyland. Appreciate it. Appreciate the recap. So as Dr. Hyland said, yes, we've been working hard, especially since January, for the plans that we had developed from the years prior to that. To really, admin team has worked hard to really vet out and refine the scopes that were already there, to weed out the wants and the needs and everything for all the building renovations. And we've particularly aligned the proposed changes to the strategic and comprehensive plan geared towards facilities for the future, as Dr. Hyland was commenting on. So we're making sure these designs reflect the commitment to the continuous improvement that we've been talking about with our surveys. So in the elementary schools, Mr. Fox and Mr. Arnold will be reviewing the plans that we have to modernize elementary schools, strategically addressing each building's most pressing issues and to enhance the learning environment in those. At the senior high school, I have proposed upgrades to make an aquatic facility that we're all going to be extremely proud of, and some renovations to the auditorium, and a couple, 2 instructional learning commons, LGIs, as we like to have acronyms for everything. And the plan also addresses some of the major mechanical systems that are essential for the long-term health of the building. At NAI, we spent a lot of time at the intermediate school. It's had a lot of complications, a lot to dig into, and we've had a concerted effort to revamp and improve the programming of all the educational areas. We've developed a solution to help minimize the disruptions to the student instruction, especially for these critical times in their high school career. And the plan that we're going to present will certainly make it a facility of the future. Then following that, Mr. Hauser will provide a detailed financial analysis of the project's fiscal impact to the community, and then we'll finish off with presenting the next steps for the presentation. So as I kind of mentioned, Webb Murphy Fox has been design lead. Mr. Fox is here, and he's been working with Hayes Design Group, Tower Engineering, Barbara Hoffman, Wallover Aquatic International, and Civil Environmental Consultants. And then we have Mr. Mike Arnold here from SiteLogic to help us review the rest of this presentation. Mr. Fox.
We got this puppy. Good evening. Just a couple of real quick general comments to the board and to the public. A very large part of this effort since January has been very much of a team effort. We've had great participation from central administration, the building administration, the physical plant folks, professional staff, and they have really stepped up to the plate, provided us with a lot of very useful guidance. And this is a reflection of them honing in on the list of things that everybody wishes for and turning them into a list of things that there's a consensus that are needed. I really want to thank all the people that provided guidance and information for this. The other thing that I would just mention real quickly about this team is if you look at it, you'll see it's all Western Pennsylvania team. Most of the folks on those teams have experience with North Allegheny School, and all of them have developed over the last 5 years a very deep understanding of the district, its staff, and its needs. So we're gonna start in after the first feasibility study, which started back in 2022, where we assessed the physical condition of the buildings, analyzed future needs, spent a lot of time working with professional staff, students, and all interested parties defining what the educational program wanted to look like, and then beginning to explore options for the future. And you all remember the process we went through, analyzing between consolidation and keeping the existing grade structure as it is. When we started in January, then we had fairly straightforward direction as to how to proceed with it. And Mike and I are going to kind of double team the facilities portion of this. I think that all the board members have some detailed plans. So we're going to just touch the high points, and then we can take questions at any point in time. All right, let's see. So we went through all of the various pieces of the desired educational program, the facilities renovations, started to define the needs of all the schools. And then in late spring, early summer, the district brought on SiteLogic as a construction manager. And since then, we've worked as a team, playing various options against costs. And we've had a really nice interflow of information that way. Mike, you want to just hit this?
Thanks, Dick. I do want to echo what Dick said at the beginning. It's been a pleasure working with the district and the guidance they've given us, and really have pushed us to make sure that the product that we were going to be presenting would allow you to make some educated decisions moving forward. So as we kind of wrap up a schematic design phase, it's almost beyond that. We have more detail than what we normally would have provided, and it's been a pleasure getting to this point. As far as the timeline is concerned, with any construction project, any major building project, obviously there needs to be a timeline in place. And why is that? Because there are economic impacts to a timeline, and there's also the educational disruption that we need to be taking into account. So when we put this timeline together, we were thinking about the idea that we need to do a lot of work during the summer months so that we minimize that educational disruption, and the timing of the bidding. to make sure that we're fitting into a time frame where we're going to get the best bid results possible. So from that, we've created this timeline, and I realize it's a little bit of an eye chart. I think you have hard copies with you, but it's color-coded to identify the various phases of work. We've talked about schematic design. We're kind of nearing the end of that at this point. And as you move through that, the different colors identify design development, construction document phase, ultimately bidding the project, the permitting piece that goes along with it, and then ultimately getting into construction. So with that, the four projects, meaning the 3 elementary schools as well as Nash, kind of follow a similar path, which is basically moving into design sometime this fall, into design development, bidding the project sometime this year, this time next year, so that you can begin construction in 2027 and be complete by the start of the school year for 2028. The NAI project moves a year from that, so that it's obviously a more complicated project. It's going to need a little more time in design, and it follows the path of bidding the project in late 2027 and the construction years of 2028 through 2030, with basically using 3 summer breaks to accomplish that work. And that may change, obviously, as the district and the board analyzes the schematic designs and comes up with possibly some other solutions. We would obviously adjust this schedule. This next slide identifies, as we talked a little bit about educational disruption, we really try to take some time to identify how the students would be disrupted during this building program. And through each of these different classes, typically there's only a 1-year impact, but there is in one case, the 2032 and the 2033 classes would possibly have 2 school years where there would be construction going on. That would depend on which option was taken as it relates to NAI. That could be obviously minimized if a different option was taken in that case. What I would like to say is, even though we were talking about educational disruption, there's obviously measures that are taken when we undergo a construction project to make sure that noise, dust, any interruption is minimized, during that process. And been through that quite a bit in our past, and have ways to deal with that to make sure that you're not dealing with a lot of disruption. So with that, I think we're going to move into the elementary schools and start talking about the design. I think, as Brandon indicated, the idea here is to meet the comprehensive plan, the goals of the comprehensive plan, quality standardization of all the elementary schools, and ultimately infuse into that a bit of the capital maintenance plan optimization. So with that, Dick.
Okay. So all of these schools are going to follow a similar pattern in terms of the areas that were addressed. And rather than repeat this 3 times, I will tell you that you're going to find a lot of common elements for all 3 of the elementary schools. Site circulation improvements. There are some circulation issues that have to do with safety. There's a whole new attitude toward parent drop-off and pickup. And then there's the constant need of needing more parking, especially for event parking. So you'll see that in all 3 of them. In all 3 of them, you'll see administrative additions and reconfiguration. The world has changed since those elementary schools were built. They're wonderful neighborhood elementary schools, but there have been a lot of things that you've been asked to do that they never had space allocated for. And so we found itinerants moved into closets. We found people sitting on each other's laps almost. So you'll see that all 3 of the elementary schools have very modest additions to help provide meeting rooms, visitation spaces for traveling specialists, and some reorganization of the space to provide better sight lines and just a better flow of the student day. All of the elementary schools have another commonality, and that is trying to carve out, or in some cases add, space so that there is an effective place for band as well as orchestra. Right now, again, they trade spaces. It's very difficult for scheduling and so forth. All of the schools will get a upgrade in the lighting. All of the schools will get infrastructure upgrades that are based upon the capital assessment that was done several years ago, and and tempered by some work that the district has done in between. All of the elementary schools will receive an upgrade for the finishes. It's not that the finishes are bad, but they're a little tired. And it's a good opportunity to upgrade them and refresh them, if you will. And then all of them involve some level of playground upgrades. So now that I've done that once, I won't have to do it 3 times. At least that's the theory. So this is Hozak. We'll start out with the site property. One of the things that we're doing is planning for the use of the adjacent property that currently has some buses stored on it. So you can see we've added circulation, given a couple of different ways to get into the building, added a bunch of parking, about 60 new spaces, I believe, in this particular case. We've cleaned up the drop-off, pickup circulation, and then we've allowed for playground modifications. Most of the time right now, what we're doing is we're carrying an allowance for playground equipment, but we know basically what we're going to end up doing. So, you know, there's some site modifications there. In terms of, and I apologize that these are tough to read. It's almost impossible to put a whole floor plan on a PowerPoint. So we're going to just focus on the colors, if you will. And in all of these, you'll see that there are areas that are blue. Those generally represent modest additions. There are areas that are purple, which in most cases are reconfigurations, maybe with very minor additions. And then there are areas that are brown and yellow, which just have to do mostly with interior renovations and perhaps changing the way the spaces are used. And a lot of these, the names on the spaces have changed. The principals have been very involved in trying to get all of the programs that are currently part of your educational program covered. So we'll start here on the extreme right. And that is the administrative offices. Basically, those have been reconfigured, sight lines have been improved, meeting rooms and conference rooms have been added, and the net result of it is a modest building of addition of about 600 feet. If you move clockwise, the next blue area is a combination of some existing space and a modest addition to provide a large group instruction room. And that's another commonality that I didn't mention going through it. All of these elementary schools we're trying to provide for a large group instruction room. They can accommodate 50, 60 kids and a variety of different kinds of activities. Then as you move around the building, you can see in the center, there's some reorganization of space going around the circle. Again, you can see some areas that were originally designed for a different use have been slightly reconfigured and repurposed. And then you'll see a bunch of brown spots on this. Those are basically the toilet rooms, and all the toilet rooms in all the elementary schools are currently slated for essentially replacement. Replacement in terms of fixtures, finishes, and they're all being refinished in a very high privacy sort of design, just kind of reflecting the day that we live in. And if you look at the second floor plan, you won't see as many of the blue and purple, but you will see the brown toilet room renovations. Costs?
Thanks, Dick. Part of our task as construction managers is to take the information that Dick and his group have put together and put a cost to it. And at this early stage, it's a combination of things. So in some cases, we have the ability to do what's called a quantity takeoff. In other words, identify how many square feet of carpet are in this room, ceiling tile, et cetera, apply a unit cost to it and extend that so that we can come up with those costs. In other situations where we have maybe a mechanical system or an electrical system where a lot of it is hidden, it may not be designed yet, we use what's called a square foot analysis. And that's based upon a lot of historical data from our database of doing these type of projects over and over again. So as we prepared that, what we do then is we separate them between the hard costs of a project and the soft costs of a project. And what that means is on bid day, the cost of the work that is going to be installed physically is considered hard costs. When you talk about soft costs, that is the design fees that are associated with it, construction management fees, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, things like teachers' desks and chairs, student desks and chairs, permitting costs, things of that nature is typically categorized as soft costs. When you put those together, you have your total project cost. And I go through that explanation because a lot of times it is misunderstood when a consultant speaks of costs. We want to always be looking at total costs so that there's nothing hidden that you're not aware of. So ultimately, we want to present that. So in the hard cost, I do want to explain that is the takeoffs that we have done, but it also includes what we call design contingency and escalation. So we look at when is this project going to be bid? And at this point, based on the schedule, the preliminary schedule that I presented, it's about a year from now. So we look at the inflation indexes and we factor in what we call construction escalation. In addition to that, the design contingency is associated with what level of design are you at during a particular project. Typically during a schematic design phase, there's a lot of unknowns. So you want to have a little bit of contingency so that when you go to the next phase, you're not showing a larger number ultimately to the owner. And that design contingency gets smaller as you get closer to bid day because there's less uncertainty. So we've included a percentage for the hard cost there as well. So for the HOSAC project, the total project cost range is between $9,550,000 and $10,350,000. The reason for that range is because we're early on in the project, number one. Number two is we want to also be careful about any unknown economic impacts that may occur. We obviously, have been living through 5 years of some interesting times in the construction industry through COVID and hyperinflation and things of that nature. So we try to make sure that we're preparing our clients for the worst in that case. And I think that's what we've done here to try to give you an idea of what that range might be for what's been designed so far. This next slide identifies just really briefly a phasing plan, and we're very early on. Obviously we have to meet with the principals to really go through the details of the project before we come up with a concrete phasing plan. Ultimately, that phasing plan gets put into the bidding documents so that the contractors understand what their limitations are, where they can work, where they can't, is second shift involved, those type of things. But that's down the road. That's typically more in the design development or the construction document phase. But the general idea with all of these buildings is that you would build the additions first. They're going to cause the least amount of disruption for the school. In the case of the administration additions, you do want to do those during the summer, get those done so that when you do go back to school, that is done. It's not disrupting the administration. And then do again as much renovation during the summer months as you possibly can, and then probably a little bit of lighter load during the school year, whether that be second shift or in back of house areas, so that we're not disrupting the educational function. But that's going to be very typical for the next three buildings. Move on to Ingomar.
All right. Again, there's no need to reread this to you. The scope of these refreshing at the elementary schools is very similar. So I'm just going to launch right straight at first of all, the site plan, and this is Ingomar, and I'm told I have a nifty little tool that I can use here.
There you go.
There we go. Well, maybe. Okay. So we'll start out here, and again, this time we'll go counterclockwise. We have some site plan improvements. This is probably a better look at it. We're going to be adding about 28 new parking spaces. We're going to be kind of organizing those two outdoor basketball areas. We're going to take the playground equipment, which is pretty much all across the back here, kind of reorganize it and put it into this area. The existing baseball field has been slightly downsized to meet Little League regulations, but we're still keeping the bike path around it. So those are the major site work pieces. There's an addition here we're going to talk about. So we're anticipating an outdoor area right outside of that addition as a new kind of educational space. Okay. So again, looking at the various pieces, we'll start down here with the office. And there is again, a modest addition, about 380 square feet to help us pick up the needed conference rooms, meeting rooms, and all of the specialty spaces. These spaces in here have been reconfigured. Again, Ingemar's put a few miles on the road, so it was never designed for the kind of programs that you currently have. So these spaces have been rethought and divided up to be more useful to the existing program. And the library is just being reorganized to get better sight lines and so forth out of it. One of the bigger pieces is right here. This is the addition for an LGI. This is probably the largest addition in the elementary renovations. It's about 2,700 square feet, but you can see that it's designed to accommodate a couple of classes of kids and then have an outside entrance as well. Then you have the toilet rooms, as all of the other buildings have, trying to bring them up to a kind of a consistent standard, if you will. And you get down into the lower level. We are doing some renovations, replacing some existing folding partitions and doing it in a way that will allow this stage area to be enclosed and used as either band or orchestra at the same time that we are taking this space, which is somewhat unused, and kind of reorganizing it for the others. So one of these is orchestra, and one of these is band. And then again, you have your toilet room renovations. Now this, again, don't forget, this is in addition to a general spruce up, finishes, mechanical systems, and all those sorts of things that folks see, whenever they visit the school. Whoops, I went too hard. Here we go. Thanks.
Okay, so at Ingemar, and one of the things you'll notice is that the ranges for each one of these elementary schools is somewhat close, within $1 million or so. And part of that's because they're similar in square footage, but there are some differences. At Hozak, we are actually replacing the entire roof because of the condition of it, where at Peebles and at Ingemar, we're doing more of a partial roof replacement. At Ingemar, we're doing more on the unit ventilator, the HVAC system, because at the other schools, there's been some work that's been done throughout the last couple of years. So you'll see a little bit of differences as we move through these projects, but as Dick indicated, admin work, LGI work, that's going to be a consistent throughout the project. So this project at Ingemar is ranging from 11,250 to 12,150. And as far as the phasing is concerned, very similar in nature, where we're, obviously the plan would be to start right away with the additions and then move into the renovations.
Peebles. Again, all of these have very similar component parts. So as we look at the solutions for Peebles, there's a little bit of a new piece that has never been around until this early summer, and that has to do with the ability to add another piece of property to the Peebles site And what that allows us to do is to clean up the turning radiuses, the sight lines, and make this a much safer intersection where the buses can pull out without going into the opposing lanes of traffic. And we're able to add about 19 new parking spaces down there. In addition, we've added 15 additional parking spaces in the center and about 9 additional parking spaces up here around the bus drop off, and about 10 spaces down here along the parent pickup area. We've taken this, and this area of the parent drop-off area is going to be laid out so that it can also be used for event parking. So overall, we've done a pretty good job, I think, of providing additional parking as needed. We've cleaned up a little bit the entrances and the exits and the shapes of these, the turning radius and so forth. We still have a situation here where you're in Europe for one of the drop-off pickups and you're in the United States for the other one. But that works real well, and they still like that. Then we will be redesigning and enlarging expanding the playground. Oops, excuse me. In Hozak, we have a number of additions. None of them are particularly large, but this one down here is the LGI room. It's about 1,600 square feet. As you work your way around here, this is the administrative office. There's an addition of about 900 square feet, again, to provide the space for the itinerants and the meeting rooms and the conference rooms that are needed so much in today's educational delivery. Back up here this is the courtyard you're probably all familiar with. There's a greenhouse right in here right now. We're going to take advantage of the ease of adding spaces here to add this is probably going to be orchestra. There's still some thinking that maybe the band and the orchestra will switch, but I suspect that will happen depending on the use of it every year. And we're providing a swing class space. In all the elementaries, whether we tried to carve space out of the interior or in this case where we added space, we're trying to come up with a swing classroom because your enrollments do fluctuate from year to year, and occasionally you just need that extra classroom for one grade, and it's a very good thing for the flexibility, being able to keep all the kids in the same school for all of their elementary years if you have the space to accommodate that. Again, you have the toilet room changes, including down in here, and you have some work down in the multi-purpose space in order to make this stage a usable area for either band or orchestra, whichever it happens to be. And finally, there's a lot of different ways you can use a space like that, but you need to be able to enclose it. It needs to have a certain amount of acoustical privacy. It needs to be a little bit secure because you're going to be storing instruments in there and things of that nature. So those are the renovations that are planned for Peebles.
Thanks, Dick. Yeah, and at Peebles, obviously the major difference there is the amount of site work. There's a little more site work there than before. Also, those additions are in a courtyard, which is a little bit different, as far as the construction is concerned. Some more logistics, some planning needs to be thought out. They're small additions, so they can be accomplished during the summer, but protecting the existing school as you're passing, materials through, some of that would be coming overhead, but those are some things, some kind of considerations that we would have. Range here is 10.275 to 11.1 million on this project. Again, as far as the phasing is concerned, I mentioned the courtyard work and again, doing the additions and then the renovations in the summer months.
Okay. Now we're going to get into some slightly more complex projects. The senior high school Nash Phase 1 includes the competitive pool addition, some renovations in the auditorium, some locker reconfigurations, renovations, some restroom reconfigurations, and in particular, a new public restroom set up by the auditorium, which you'll see in a minute here. Some site infrastructure site upgrades, and then a number of capital maintenance infrastructure replacements. Some of the larger pieces like the cooling tower that have, finally run their race and are ready to be replaced. Well, let's start with the site work. And I think that the site work is mostly concentrated up here in the area of the pool addition. This is the existing high school right now. This is the athletic complex. So in order to do the pool addition that's desired, it is going to project out into what now is an access road back here. So that access road has to be relocated. There are a number of site utilities that have to be relocated. So there's a reasonable amount of work back in this area. And this will take up some of the existing parking spaces. Before anybody gasps, however, what we've done is we've added a small parking lot in currently unused grassy space that's going to get us enough parking spaces to replace the ones that we're losing and add, I think, about 26 spaces total to the existing count. The second phase of Nash is going to involve a lot more work in this area, but we've decided we're going to be relocating the entrance and reconfiguring a bunch of things, but it really doesn't make sense to do that now and then drive over it for the construction of the additions and renovations to Nash. So that's going to become part of Phase 2. Right now, this is kind of a blow up of that area around the pool. You can see the roadway has been relocated. There's a little bump in it here. We had this area resurveyed to get very accurate topographical and utility information, and we're very confident that all of this can be done without any structures. It can all be done with basically fill material. So that is part of the project. The rest of the work in Phase 1 of Nash consists of the auditorium work. Whoa, Dick, I had too many buttons here. There we go. In the auditorium, one of the significant pieces is right here in front of the stage. We're going to be constructing an orchestra pit. This will be a pit that allows the orchestra to be down out of the sight lines. It can be raised mechanically. It's basically a system of supports that have to be moved manually, but it's very doable. So this can be either about 3 feet deep, it can be level with the floor, or it can be up at the same elevation as the stage, providing a little bit of an apron, if you will, particularly for single person presentations, that sort of thing. So that's a fairly major piece. Another major piece is this new set of toilet rooms here that can be accessed from either the rest of the school or just from the lobby of the auditorium. And we basically double the number of fixtures in there right now. There's about 10 fixtures for either the men's or women's side. The other piece of the other kind of non-pool piece of Phase 1 is taking this existing locker bay in here and creating 2 large group instruction rooms out of it. What we've determined and most recently tested is that students don't use the lockers anymore. We're still going to have room for some lockers in this area, as requested. They'll probably be half high lockers, not full high lockers. Okay. The pool, this kind of shows the relationship of the pool to the existing swimming pool, which is right in here with the existing locker rooms. This is your existing gymnasium and locker rooms. So this is the new pool. It's designed as a 10-meter or a 10-lane pool, either 25 yards, which is the length that high school competes, or 25 meters, which is the collegiate and the AAU competition length. So it can be run in either direction. There are visiting locker rooms. There are new team locker rooms. There's a series of offices around here that involve the first aid room, the timing equipment, coaches' rooms, officials' rooms, that sort of thing. A new entrance off the parking lot with a, concession stand and ticket booth, as well as stairs to get up and about. This is a little bit of a complex building. This shows that deck level floor plan. The floor plan of this deck, these are nice wide decks. And if you've been around pools, you know how important that is for safety and also for organizing teams and everything else. So these are wide decks. You can see by example, the widths of the decks that you have in the existing pool here, quite a bit narrower. This is at the same elevation exactly, so that these two, you can have circulation flowing between these two pools. Right now we have two options. This is showing one of those two options, which has a firewall constructed here. This is a code required element of the design. And we're allowed to have 320 square feet of opening between it. So what we're currently showing are two openings, 16 feet wide by 10 feet high. Now, there is another opportunity that's out there to take this firewall and construct it down here between the existing pool and the existing gymnasium. That's complicated, but the local building inspector has signed off on the concept of it. It just needs to be engineered and developed, and like all these pieces, I guess. And that would allow these two pools to be open to each other the full length of this common wall. There are multiple levels. This is a level we've been looking at down here at the pool deck level. This is the entrance level. You enter off of the parking lot. You come in. This area right here is 4 or 5 feet above the pool deck. You can either go in and down or up. Here's this area here for seating on this side. We're maintaining the seating here. All told, there's going to be about 1,200 seats between the two different seating areas. So you still have an observation area here for the diving, the warm water pool. This will be maintained and upgraded so they can be used for instruction, for diving, for community purposes. It's essentially a warm water pool, and this can be a full-blown cold water competition pool. Let's see, what are the other pieces here? That's pretty much it, I think. Again, you can see this is a big volume space up here. This is the pool deck, and you can see the offices and then the seating going up to get to roughly 1,000 square seats on this side of the pool. So it's a big volume. This pool right now is priced as a 9-foot deep constant depth pool, and very easy to maintain pool because underground You can get access all the way around it. This will have its own new filtration and circulation system, whereas the other one will be upgraded. I think those are the major pieces. This is just a bigger look at the auditorium and the new toilet rooms. These are the 2 large group instruction rooms. And here's a couple of interior sketches just to kind of give you a sense of what we're looking at. This particular sketch is taken from over by the visiting locker room. This is the entrance right up here. And you can see this shows the 2 openings in the firewall, the 10 lanes, and the seating up in, come back to me, there you are. Takes a little while for that red to warm up. This is the seating, the new seating. The old seating you can just barely see through here. Now here's another view of the pool complex. If we elect to go with the totally open space here, you can see the other pool, the diving pool over here. You can see the seating for that pool. This stays pretty much the same. Another quick look at this. This is from up in the grandstand. This is the firewall. At this point in time, we're thinking that this opposite wall here is probably going to have all of the scoreboard and possibly some Jumbotron type of TV for the meets, watching it different ways. And this is the firewall over here. You can see it comes down. There's a couple openings in it. We'll get good use out of this wall space, but it's probably not the preferred configuration. This is what it looks like if we're able to open the 2 pools to each other. Again, you can see the current existing pool, which would be the warm water teaching and diving pool, its current seating. And this is the cold water competition pool, its new seating.
Yeah, and the corresponding numbers for this project is ranging from 27,750,000 to 30 million. As far as the phasing is concerned, again, same concept. I will say that the one area on the interior that we would have to consider some double shift work in the summer would be that reconfiguration of the restrooms. Restrooms tend to be a little complicated to fit into a 10-week period. So that's something that we obviously would work through as we get into more detail. Moving on to just a kind of a cost summary. And the reason we wanted to summarize those 4 projects first is because these are all on this kind of a similar timeline currently in the preliminary schedule. And number 2, the summary of all of that is very, very similar to what was presented in January. So I think within 5% as far as the costs are concerned when it was presented, those 3 elementary schools and the NASH project. So that was good news, obviously. And, you know, as you move forward, obviously we get into potential value engineering, tweaking of details and designs, and then those numbers can obviously be improved upon if necessary. So moving on to the intermediate. So the other part of that was that scope was pretty similar to what you had seen before. When we got to the intermediate and we were looking at the renovation project, which was to not have any major additions and simply renovate the project, we definitely identified the challenges as it related to the logistics and student disruption and things of that nature, and the need possibly for modular trailers for education, et cetera. So we started to delve into some more options. And these next 2 slides will identify the options that we went through. Some of them we got into detailed estimates with, others we discarded for various reasons. So option number 1 is in general is the minor additions of the cafeteria, infill of the courtyards, the auxiliary gym additions, and of course the administration. But there wasn't any classroom additions to help with what we call swing space. So we obviously went through that, talked a bit about the pitfalls of that type of a project and moved into some different scenarios where we were adding on some swing space. And options 2A and 2B kind of modify the infill of the courtyards, have larger classroom additions to provide for swing space. And the other reason for the classroom additions was to identify and create spaces that had more square shaped classrooms that were of a larger size than some of the ones that are in, obviously the existing NAI. That landed us to ultimately option number 4, which was the other renovation option that included an addition in the back. I think it's a 24 classroom addition that allowed enough swing space that you would not need modules. We were also infilling certain areas that were logistically a little bit more practical. The ones in the front of the building, we were turning those into science rooms. And then in some cases, we were just dressing up the courtyards. So we went through that process and did a lot of, quantity takeoffs, estimating, et cetera, and came up with an estimate there. And that range was between 103 million and 111 million. With that, we moved into another option, and that was to really build a major addition. And maintain and salvage the athletic wing, because you do have one of your newer structures is part of that athletic wing, and do some minor renovations in the older pieces of the athletic wing. So that particular project is coming in at about $167 million. So from there, Dick's going to go through some of the general floor plans associated with that, and then we'll turn it to Kermit to talk about the overall program costs.
Take a deep breath. We're getting near the end. Whoops, you already got me there, didn't you? Our first run through here, what we basically did was infill all the existing courtyards. You can see the courtyards on this particular drawing as areas that are crosshatched, and recaptured those spaces. There were 2 goals to this. The first was to try to capture some space within the existing footprint of the building, and then give us the ability to reconfigure the size and the shape of the classrooms and all the special areas that are located over in this area. And the second major reason that we started out in that direction was to try to keep air and water from infiltrating in through the courtyards into the other side of the building, because we all know that we've had issues with pyritic soils in there that have caused headaches for years and years. So this was the first addition. We did get the entire educational program within the existing footprint of the building, with a couple of very minor additions. I want to show you those additions if I can get this to work for me. I guess I'm going to have to catch up with you later. This is another one of the options. I don't know that there's a reason to talk about the detail of it. It's one of the ones that was discarded because the end result was too much square footage and not enough swing space. This is another one that was discarded. I show you these mostly so that you understand that we really took a hard swing at the most effective way to do this. Here's a third option. And this is where we kind of landed as the best consensus renovation solution. We have in this solution a minor addition in the main level up here in the administrative area. We have another, I guess I wouldn't call this minor, but it's a smaller addition, which takes the existing auxiliary gym, basically doubles it, turns it into a competition basketball court at this level, and underneath it, a very nice fitness center that can actually open up to the track level with big overhead glass garage doors and so forth. The major change is this block of blue here, which is a new classroom addition that provides the district with enough swing space so that classes can be moved after it's constructed, and then the rest of the particularly this area. Come on, Red. There you go. Particularly this classroom area can be divided into phases and accomplished 3 different phases. In this particular case, the courtyards that are purple are the ones that we're still going to recapture the footprint from. And the ones that are here in this beige color are ones that we're going to leave as is. And in order to be able to afford this addition, which is much more easily accomplished and perhaps more flexible space. If you look at the lower level, we also have an addition plan for the cafeteria to allow this to be accomplished in fewer feedings, and we have some additional space over here, multi-purpose room and a place for some of your special programs. This is the lower addition, and then we're totally renovating the tech ed end of the building. So that is the option 4 best case renovation project. Even this did not scratch all the issues, because we know that when we're all done with this, we're still going to have a building that has issues. We have pyrite problems. It's like this old house. How far do you go with replacing all the mechanical, electrical systems? So we were asked to real quickly look at a solution that maintained the existing phys ed spaces right here, and then built essentially a new intermediate school where the soccer field currently is. And what we were doing here was testing it to see if it was going to fit in the site that we had available to us. The theory is that you would do this renovation addition, you would do this entire project while you maintained occupancy in the existing intermediate school. When this was done, you could tear down the intermediate school, replace the soccer field, reconfigure the circulation and the parking, and clean up some issues that we have here with cross connections and so forth. So this is obviously a larger scale project. This is what's currently referred to as option 5.
I think in this last slide, we've covered a lot of this as it relates to how we put our cost estimates together. But what I'd like to say before we turn it to Kermit is one of the things that we did then with the 5 projects is we created what's called a draw schedule. And it identifies throughout the course of the project what the capital outlay might look like over the course of the project. And that would help, obviously, Kermit in his evaluation of the project financially. And that's what he's going to talk about right now.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Let me get this out of your way.
So yeah, basically looking at the 2 viable options on the table with NAI option 4 and option 5, we wanted to take a look at how that fit into our current operating budget and our debt structure. And so we really looked at it from a cash flow perspective and a debt ratio perspective. Based on the cash flow schedule or the draw schedule, we came up with potential issuances of four issuances throughout the project life, with one starting off just for some seed money, and then the last one really cleaning everything up so we don't over borrow right at the beginning, so we don't just do one large borrowing and really not know how much we have. And if you can see our current debt structure, which is the yellow and the red, you'll see that current cash flow starts really dropping off. This is our old historical debt dropping off. And if we were to look at the option 4 structure, we took the highest estimate and then we rounded up. And that's why we were saying $180 million, just to be on the conservative side, what that would look like. As you can see, our current debt is roughly $14.5 million. And with that $180 million spread over 4 issuances, our new peak would be about $17.5 million. So about $3 million more than our current debt structure. What that is in terms of millage, approximately every one tax increase is somewhere between $3 to $3.5 million to $4.5 million, depending on the index for that year. So it would be about one tax increase with $180 million of debt to cover the debt portion of our operating budget. How that looks with our debt ratios. As I mentioned before, we're dropping off on our current debt schedule. We're actually coming up on 40-year lows when it comes to our ratios. And what this is a very busy graph. What the light green shows is our operating budget. It grows annually for inflation, and it takes it up from 1990 and extrapolates all the way out to 2040. The dark green would be what our outstanding debt is. The dark green line is the percentage of our debt to our budget. And then the red line here is actually our annual debt service to our operating budget. And we're right in this area right now, like I said, 40-year lows when it comes to our debt ratios. So borrowing roughly $180 million over those 4 years, our debt ratios are still under where we were at Franklin just a few years ago. So again, just some facts. Our current net debt versus budget is 49, just under 50%. The historical peak was about 155%. With new debt, we would only reach about 93.4%. And our ceiling, basically our credit limit, is, I say 225% on here. It's actually 225% of our average 3-year revenues, but for simplicity, I just put 225% on there. And again, our current debt against our operating budget is 7.4. The historical peak was 11. And with $180 million in new debt, we would be at 7.3, so pretty close to our current debt. Again, we took option 5 and we rounded up to $240 million of debt, of potential new debt, and the potential debt issues are split over four issuances over a couple different years. Same thing, but instead of the $17 million, the new peak would be $21 million roughly. And doing the math, that would be 2 tax increases versus 1 tax increase to cover the debt-only portion of our operating budget. So 1 additional tax increase to cover that debt for option 5 of North Allegheny, or for the new NAI. And then here is what the ratios would look like with that. Again, the current and the historical peaks are the same. With the new debt, it would be about 117% and would be over that 100% for just about 3 or 4 years. And with the new debt, the new percentage of budget would be about 8.5% and then come down. And again, you'll see it come down within about 4 years and come back down into the 7s shortly thereafter. One thing to note, these ratios were as of on Saturday. These ratios got a little bit better as of yesterday. We did do a refunding. So this is pre-refunding numbers. We were able to do a refunding, which shaved a little bit off those peaks. So they came down just a little bit. Just wanted to let you know that these are not up to date within the last 24 hours.
Thank you, Kermit. Thank you for hanging with us through our flight of 30,000 feet. We're getting ready to descend into what our next steps are going to be. So September, October, our professional consultants we have right now, their contract expires in December. So we need to renew that. And so we're going to be going out for requests for proposals for the architects and engineers and the construction manager. And you're going to see a request for qualifications for Guaranteed Energy Savings Act. We'll call it GISA. That's going to be coming out here in September. We will have board member involvement to help us with interviews of it, research, get the best candidate, and we'll be approving that on November 12th. And then we'll really be descending from our 30,000 foot view down to the ground in design phase. And then we'll be coming back near the end of design to review everything before we go out to construction bid. The GISAs, just want to touch on that a little bit. We're looking at the potential of it as a different vehicle to get the construction done in a cost-efficient method, time-saving method, and being able to get proper equipment that we want throughout all the districts to help keep unity and stuff. We're mainly looking at this for the 3 elementary schools in Nash. Now we have landed to any questions.
Before the board asks any questions, I do want to publicly express to the board and to the folks in the audience, there's been an awful lot of time put in by our board members on their off time, whether it's taking tours of buildings on weekends or coming in for additional meetings, smaller meetings to get a better understanding. The board has been very inquisitive about this and wanted to dig deeper. So I just wanted to thank the board for taking the time to educate themselves on all the things that this team has been going through. So thank you for that. And Ms. Warner, if you have questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hyland. Do any board members have any questions on this presentation? Mr. McClure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Warner. Not questions, just thank you for this presentation. We could be here for a couple hours with questions if we actually started to delve into this, but the public needs to know, reiterating what Dr. Hyland said, we have a huge amount of time invested in this to get this to this point. So there's no surprises to the board here this evening. We've seen this, we understand it, and I think we have a lot of buy-in on the whole concept. Mr. Hauser, I think, makes an excellent point, though, that's, I think, important for the public to appreciate. And that is that we are not, this is an extraordinary effort. We've been planning for this for a long time as our debt service has reduced, and we've known this for a number of years. We're going to have this opportunity. We are in a very unique situation here now where we can keep NA, really NA, and keep up the high standard. And these projects will help do that. And we can do that without stepping beyond what historically our predecessors have done with regard to debt ratios and the amount of exposure that we have as a district. Everything's more expensive than it was 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But we're going to, I think, in this effort, continue to keep NA the place where 95% of people can say, hey, this is where I want to be.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Anyone else? Mrs. Blackburn.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. I just wondered if Mr. Hauser wanted to talk a little bit about the yellow line I see going across on that graph. He talked a lot about our jagged mountain and peaks going up and down, but not so much about the line at the bottom.
The line at the bottom, the red line right here? Yeah. So yeah, what this red line is your percent of annual debt over your operating budget. And you can see that historically it's been right around 10, just over 10%, and it has been coming down in recent years, and it actually hit, we're at 7.1% right now, which is, one of the lowest points we've had in the last 40 years. And again, with new debt, we're still staying under that 10% line with the way we've mapped this out. So that's what that little red line here is. And this dotted line is just is the 10% demarcation line, just so you can see if it's above or below the 10%. So we're still staying well under that 10% line.
Thank you. Excellent to hear.
Mr. Weniger.
Thank you. Mr. Hauser, you mentioned in your remarks about, roughly a tax increase, a certain millage increase equates to a $3 or $4 or $5 million increase. With this building program, with the two different options, again, we're divining some tea leaves here. I get that. How many tax increases do you think we would have to do this versus if there was no building program at all? what would we have to do anyways, just for our normal operations?
So normal operations, no new debt at all. Over the next 8 to 10 years, you're probably looking at 3 to 4. With new debt, you're probably looking at least 5, but a lot of that would, over the next 8 to 10 years, a lot of that would depend on, where the index is, what the growth rate is. If it comes in higher, it could be a little bit less. If the growth rate comes in a little bit lower, a lot of that is just at the county level and municipality levels. So a lot of it would be dependent on that. However, one of the things with a lot of these buildings, as Mr. Chiavola would want to probably reiterate, without doing some of these projects at some of these larger buildings, it's going to increase your operational cost for the maintenance on some of these items that we're replacing. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yes, our capital maintenance and operational maintenance will continue to go up, and as escalation of costs for renovation continue to go up 3 to 4% a year.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Ms. Hardy.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. I just wanted to clarify if anything is being decided tonight, if anything's being voted on tonight, just for the general public. This has been a really big presentation, a lot of information, a lot of options. Just to clarify on what exactly is happening this evening in this meeting. Thank you.
So if you go to the last screen, it pretty much lays out the timeline. As we have indicated, we've been at the schematic stage of this. Unless the board members indicate they don't want to go further with the planning process, then we are going to continue to move forward. And so our next steps would be because we're going out for professional services, they don't necessarily need a vote. But when the time comes to choose a potential architect or a potential construction manager, the board will most definitely have to make a decision at that point. So we want to be able to give you that option when the time comes, and that will come in November. But you will also notice that as part of the process in choosing a potential architect and a construction manager, we're going to have board input into that process.
Anyone else? I am excited to see these next steps and continue moving forward. I'm especially excited about our 3 elementary schools, which have not been renovated since 1999. I believe it's time. So I'm glad to see we're making progress. I really appreciate all the information this team has put together for us and allowed us to have several, smaller meetings. And I appreciate our principals and the team this weekend giving us an opportunity to tour all 3 elementary schools and NAI to get a much better feel of the condition of those 3 buildings. And I think it's clear that we do need to make some progress in all 4 of those buildings. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this process continues. And seeing no other comments, I believe we can move on in our agenda. And next, we have our student activities report, Ms. Pagnato and Ms. Jin.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. The National Honor Society held an August meeting to summarize their members' summer hours and expectations for the school year. As of September 4th, NHS members have logged 690 in-club hours and 733 independent hours. They have helped with camp intervention, various elementary back-to-school picnics, and facilitated Nash's open house. NHS plans to hold a September monthly membership meeting, as well as open up spots for volunteering at the elementary and middle school clubs. They are preparing for the fall induction ceremony held later this September and creating their homecoming float for the Night at the Movies parade on October 3rd. In addition, they will be sharing various other service opportunities and monthly meetings throughout the year to help members stay engaged and meet their hour requirements. Similarly, Nash Student Council is busy preparing for this year's homecoming dance that will take place on October 4th. The anticipated theme will be Greece, titled Santorini Sunsets. In addition, they are creating their float for the homecoming parade and helping lift the student community by spreading the word for an anticipated Spirit Week before homecoming.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. This year's freshman orientation, walk your schedule, and open house were all great successes, setting the school year off to a bright start. At these events, the student council officers and many other volunteers assisted by answering questions, giving mini tours, helping students find classrooms, and overall welcoming new or returning students and families to NAI. Student council is currently getting ready for our first all-council meeting, which will take place next month. We are also looking forward to the first Principals Advisory Luncheon, which is scheduled for September the 24th. This year's activity fair will be hosted on September 25th. Among the many clubs planning to participate are Key Club, NAI Care, and Student Council, as well as some new additions such as Mock Draw Club and Students Against Destructive Decisions. We are all looking forward to a great year.
Thank you both. Do any board members have questions on the student activities report? Seeing none, we will move on to the curriculum report. Ms. Hardy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Warner. This month, there are 5 items for board action and 2 items for information only in the curriculum report. The items for board action are the approval of the marching band trip to Chicago, the approval of a third-party letter of agreement for non-public Title I services, the approval of a Title I non-public services addendum, and a second one, the approval of an affiliation agreement with Seton Hill University, the approval of an affiliation agreement with the University of Pittsburgh. And the 2 information-only items are about a foreign exchange student and student-teacher requests.
Do you have any comments on this folder?
I do not.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments on the curriculum report? Seeing none, we will move on to the finance report. Mr. Weniger.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. This month, there are 3 items for board action and 2 information-only items. The items for action are a standby bond purchase agreement, the accounts payable list, and the student expenditures for July 2025. And the information-only items are the 2025-26 August forecast and the ending cash balance for August 30 through August 31st of 2025.
Are there any questions or comments on this folder?
That's this month pretty straightforward. The standby bond purchase agreement is something that we're required to do. It's more or less like an insurance policy for some of our bonds. So it's not, we're not buying anything new, not issuing new bonds. It's more of an insurance policy.
Anyone else with questions or comments on the finance folder? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to Ms. Britton Dozier and the human resources report.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. This month we have 9 voting items in the HR folder. These items include resignations and retirements, appointments, wage and status changes, leaves of absence, supplemental contracts, tuition reimbursement for additional education, honoraria and club activities, professional contracts, and recognition for additional education.
Do you have any comments on your folder?
I do. I'd like to acknowledge several significant retirements, including Miles Cook, who's a mechanic in transportation and has served in the district for 18 years. Sharon Smith, library secretary at Nash, who has been in our district for 10 years. Susan Testa, a business secretary at Nash, and she has served our district for 24 years. And Gina Vitale, special education at Nash, and has served in our district for 15 years. And I just want to thank those employees as well as all of our employees in our district for all the work that they have done and will do, and we really appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments on the human resources folder? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the property and supplies report. Mr. McClure.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. Just one item next week. That's an amendment to the Hop Skip Drive agreement. And only comment on that is simply this is just an expansion of our current agreement for additional information that will require specialized service such as a wheelchair accessible vehicle.
Thank you, Mr. McClure. Any other comments or questions on the property and supplies report? All right, seeing none, Mrs. Blackburn, the school board report.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. Next week, we will be looking at our election of our PSBA officers. And there is only one contested position, and we're looking at Mr. Eric Meredith for that. Would you like to speak to that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Blackburn. Yes, so that is the only one that is contested. And I believe we are supposed to have a public discussion about this. And in the interest of potentially having a consent agenda next week, I wanted to bring up how there were two different people for this position. And I know I looked at the videos that both submitted. They both had good things to say. I have a slight preference for Mr. Meredith because I thought he did a better job of explaining how his professional background would help him perform in this role. However, I don't feel strongly about either of them. And I've heard good things about both of them, so I could be convinced to vote either way. But from some of the small discussions I've had with different people, it seems like maybe nobody feels too strongly about it. So we do not need to do a roll call vote on this, but we do need to come to an agreement on who will be on our agenda next week. So I am proposing Mr. Meredith, and so I'm wondering if anyone has any other thoughts or would like to advocate for Mr. Paris. Does anyone, no one else? Okay, so then next week we can put Mr. Meredith on our agenda and vote on him then.
Yes, he was in position and we did recommend him, so it seems like a good idea. Thank you.
I agree. Okay. Now we will move on to the student services report. Dr. Gibbs.
Thank you, Mrs. Warner. There are 4 items for board action and 1 information-only item in the student services report. The 4 items for board action are the Wasson Institute Education Center Agreement, the services agreement between North Allegheny School District and Glade Run Lutheran Services, the site-based academic services agreement with Wesley Family Services, and the special education transportation agreement with parents for 2025-2026. The information-only item has letters of agreement with WISCA for 2 students to be enrolled with WISCA for this coming school year.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. Do you have any comments on your report?
Yeah, just one. So item 2 is the agreement between North Allegheny and Glade Run. So we've had this agreement with Glade Run now for several years. And since we'll be voting on it in a couple of weeks, I thought it would be worthwhile to have Dr. DeLuca just say a few words about how that relationship is working and whether or not this is working well for our students. So I'll ask Dr. DeLuca to just comment on that.
Sure. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I think the best way to talk about Glade Run is to look at or reflect last year. Obviously, we're just starting a new year. I do have a little bit of information on the numbers that we're at right now. Last year, we served 274 kiddos with Glade Run services. Last year, we did have 3.25 therapists, and there was a shortage of what I would refer to as two therapists. So we've received nothing but positive feedback. The only feedback that may have been a little challenging for some is when we had wait lists where kids were waiting for service. If we had kids on wait lists, what we tried to do was offer as many outside resources as we could to serve students while they wait. And I think last year, it's safe to say that it was not just a Glade Run issue. It was a global issue as far as finding therapists to serve in the capacity that these therapists do. Glade Run last year also was instrumental in several events, traumatic events, crises, if you will, that we had to unfortunately go through as a district. They were on site, they were fabulous, and the feedback that we got from them being there was extraordinary. So if I were to say anything, it would have been wait lists last year, but we quickly got those cleaned up once we added the therapists back in. This year we are operating with 5 therapists. The contract, as you saw, has us to a maximum of 6, and we will try to find that other therapist. But for now, we're serving, I think I found out today, 157 kids as of right now.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments on the student services report? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Highland.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Warner. For this month, we have 15 voting items and we have 12 informational. Those voting items include professional seminars and professional development. We have some advertising agreements with Yoga 6 Wexford, an advertising agreement with Health Markets, same with Edgar Schneider and Associates, and we have a broadcast rights agreement for Whitfield playoff games. We have several policies for second reads. They include policy 105.1, review of instructional materials by parents, guardians, and students. Policy 106, guides for planned instruction. Policy 109, resource materials. Policy 112, school counseling. Policy 113, special education. Policy 113.3, screening and evaluations for students with disabilities. Policy 114, gifted education. Policy 118, independent study. Policy 130, homework. Policy 137, home education. For information, we have extracurricular participation by home education students. That's policy 137.1. Policy 137.2, participation in co-curricular activities and academic courses by home education students. Policy 302, employment of superintendent / assistant superintendent. Policy 302.1, duties of the superintendent. Policy 303.1, employment history review. Policy 304, employment of district staff. Policy 304, nepotism. Policy 601, fiscal objectives. Policy 602, budget planning. Policy 603, budget preparation. Policy 604, budget adoption. And Policy 605, tax levy.
Thank you, Dr. Highland. Do you have any comments on your folder?
I do not.
I will just make the one comment. The reason there are two 304s is we are proposing retiring the one policy and then adding a new policy that would have that number. That's why it's listed twice. Do any other? Thank you, Ms. Weidman. Just in case anyone could not hear, the reason there are two 304 policies is we are proposing retiring one of those, and then we will add a new policy that would have that same number. Does anyone else have any comments on the superintendent's report? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to our speakers on non-voting items. We did not have any speakers pre-register. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on any topic for up to 2 minutes? Ms. Caliendo raised her hand first.
Irene Caliendo. First of all, would like to thank everyone on the board and your families and all of the administration from the school district for all of your work on what's going to happen with the renovation. As having some part in what we did at the library, which involved only one building, I understand what it took. But what brought me to the podium today is World Suicide Prevention Day. In July, the current White House administration eliminated the Press 3 option on the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This was an LGBTQ plus specific resource that has served over 1.5 million young people in the last 3 years. In keeping with the board's goals of empowering students and safety and wellness, I plan to email Governor Shapiro's office to urge him to create a state-level LGBTQ plus suicide prevention hotline. I invite all of you to do the same. It could save lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any? Go ahead. Or please state your name and your residence.
Good evening. My name is Ann Clark, and I live at 135 Perrymont Road. I'm here tonight to urge the board, before they get involved in this extensive and expensive project, which will likely raise taxes, to work with the county to do a full reassessment of the properties. I don't think that's been done for at least 10 or 15 years. The school board attorneys were certainly quick enough to approach the county to raise my assessment within months of me purchasing my house. Based in that new welcome stranger tax, I pay almost double of what my neighbors in homes that haven't changed hands pay for taxes. I support education. It's good for everyone. I firmly support public education. I'm not sure property taxes is the right way to pay for it, but I support it. And I just would urge you to please make sure that the taxes are fair and equitable for all of your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for up to 2 minutes? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our closing items. Do any board members have any announcements or reminders? All right. Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Good night.